Hi, this is Dilli Rao, Senior Botany Faculty. My qualification is MSc BEd. I have 10 years experience in NEET teaching as well as board teaching. So let us start the topic. Now we are going to learn about double helix structure of DNA. Now we are going to learn about double helix structure of DNA. It is proposed by James Watson and Francis Crick. In 1953, according to Franklin and Wilkins photography technique, and also based on the Erwin Chargaff's rule. So James Watson Crick, both they were proposed double helix structure of DNA in 1953 based upon the Franklin Wilkins photography technique as well as the Erwin Chargaff's rule. It is accepted by so many scientists. Why? Because they explain all the features of double helix structure of the DNA. Now let us know some descriptions about double helix structure of the DNA, such as composition of DNA, base pairing of DNA, as well as complementarity, as well as Chargaff's rule, and also anti-parallel orientation, and also right-handed helix structure, and also solving some problems based on Watson-Crick double helix structure of DNA as well as Chargaff's rule. So we have to learn about these descriptions which are regarded to double helix structure of the DNA. So first of all, composition. What is the composition of DNA? DNA is polynucleotide. The DNA is polynucleotide. What is polynucleotide? Polynucleotide means composition of many nucleotides. So many nucleotides together to form polynucleotide. So what is the polynucleotide? association of three molecules is known as nucleotide. The association of three molecules. The association of three molecules is known as nucleotide. What are those molecules? The first one is phosphoric acid. The second one is nitrogen base. And the third one is deoxyribose sugar. These are the three molecules together to known as nucleotide. Thus, many nucleotides together to form as polynucleotide. So, in a nucleotide, one phosphoric acid is present, one nitrogen base is present, one deoxyribose sugar is present. There is only one phosphoric acid is present in nucleotide. Whereas nitrogen bases are two types. Those are purines and pyrimidines. Nitrogen bases are two types which are involved in the nucleotide, but there is only one nitrogen base is present in the nucleotide. Actually, nitrogen bases are two types. Purines and pyrimidines. Purines are there are two purines are there. One is adenine, another one is guanine. There are three pyrimidines are there. That is thymine, cytosine, uracil. These are the two types of nitrogen bases. Whereas sugars also two types of sugars are there. One is what we mentioned earlier, that is deoxyribose sugar. Another one is ribose sugar. So there are two types of sugars are there. One is deoxyribose sugar. Another one is ribose sugar. Whereas in DNA only deoxyribose sugar is present and ribose sugar is absent. It is present in RNA. And there are purines which we mentioned earlier, that is adenine and guanine. These are also present in DNA, and only one purine is there in one nucleotide. In the purine only one nitrogen base is present, and there are three types of pyrimidines, that is thymine, cytosine, uracil. So, of those 5 nitrogen bases, any one of the nitrogen base is present except uracil in the DNA. Why? Because this uracil is present in only RNA. It is not present in the nucleotide of DNA. So, these are the nitrogen bases. Nitrogen bases are two types, purines and pyrimidines. Purines are two, that is adenine and guanine. Pyrimidine, there are three pyrimidines are there, that is thymine, cytosine, uracil. In a DNA, only thymine and cytosine is present, whereas in RNA, uracil is present. Whereas ribose sugars, only deoxyribose sugar is present in DNA. Ribose sugar is present in only RNA. Thus, the nucleotide is made up of three molecules, that is one phosphoric acid, any one nitrogen base of adenine, guanine, thymine, cytosine. Of those 4 nitrogen bases, any one of the nitrogen base is present and deoxyribose sugar is present. These 3 molecules together to known as nucleotide. Thus, many nucleotides together to form a chain-like structure. Thus, many nucleotides together to form a chain-like structure, which is called as polynucleotide chain. Thus, the DNA is made up of two polynucleotide chains. The DNA is made up of two polynucleotide chains. Thus, the DNA is made up of two polynucleotide chains. Next, base pairing. What is base pairing? Let us know about base pairing. As we mentioned earlier, each nucleotide has one nitrogen base. Thus, there are four bases are present in DNA in two polynucleotide chains. Those are adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. These are the four nitrogen bases are present in two polynucleotide chains of DNA. How these base pairs are formed? The purine of one polynucleotide chain is make hydrogen bonds with the pyrimidine of opposite polynucleotide chain. What we mentioned earlier, there are two purines are there, that is adenine and guanine, and two pyrimidines are there which are present in only DNA, that is thymine and cytosine. How these base pairs are paired? The purine of one nucleotide chain, the purine of one polynucleotide chain, suppose A, is paired with the pyrimidine of opposite polynucleotide chain, that is thymine. Similarly, the purine of one strand is paired with the pyrimidine of opposite strand, that may be guanine and cytosine. Okay, so the purine is paired with the only pyrimidine. That means the adenine of one strand is paired with only thymine through two hydrogen bonds. Similarly, the guanine of one polynucleotide chain is paired with the cytosine of opposite polynucleotide chain through three hydrogen bonds. So, the purine must be paired with pyrimidine only. That is, adenine will be paired with thymine only. Similarly, the guanine will be paired with cytosine only. Thus, the purines make pairs with pyrimidines through hydrogen bonds. There are two hydrogen bonds are present between adenine and thymine, and there are three hydrogen bonds are present between guanine and cytosine. This is base pairing. How the base pairs are formed? The purine of one polynucleotide chain, that is adenine, is paired with thymine of the opposite polynucleotide chain, as well as the guanine, the purine which is also called as guanine, is paired with cytosine of opposite polynucleotide chain. There are two hydrogen bonds are present between adenine and thymine, and there are three hydrogen bonds are present between guanine and cytosine. Thus, the base pairs are formed between two strands. This base pairing will connect two polynucleotide chain. This base pairing will connect or will associate the two polynucleotide chains in a DNA. Thus, it is looking like a ladder. That's why the DNA with base pairs is looking like a ladder. So how the base pairs are formed? Adenine should pair with thymine only through 2 hydrogen bonds, as well as the guanine should pair with cytosine only with 3 hydrogen bonds. Thus the nitrogen base pairing is formed. This nitrogen base pairing will connect the 2 polynucleotide chain to form double stranded DNA and looking like a ladder. These hydrogen bonds will give the DNA stability. These hydrogen bonds will give the DNA stability. Next, complementarity. What is complementarity? Complementarity means, as we mentioned earlier, the adenine will be paired with thymine only and the guanine will paired with cytosine only. There are 2 hydrogen bonds are made between adenine and thymine, and there are 3 hydrogen bonds are made between guanine and cytosine. So this is called as complementarity. So adenine must paired with thymine only through 2 hydrogen bonds. Similarly, the guanine of 1 polynucleotide chain must pair with cytosine of opposite polynucleotide chain through 3 hydrogen bonds. This is called as complementarity. So, according to the complementarity, if we know the nitrogen basis of one chain, then we can predict the nitrogen basis of opposite chain. For example, there is thymine is present, there is adenine is present, there is cytosine is present, there is guanine is present. What are the predicted nitrogen bases in opposite strand? So thymine must associated with or paired with adenine only through the 2 hydrogen bonds, as well as adenine also paired with thymine through 2 hydrogen bonds, as well as cytosine also paired with guanine with 3 hydrogen bonds, as well as guanine also paired with cytosine with 3 hydrogen bonds. This is known as complementarity. Complementarity means adenine must paired with thymine only, guanine must paired with cytosine only. There are 2 hydrogen bonds are present between adenine and thymine, and there are 3 hydrogen bonds are present between guanine and cytosine. This is called as complementarity. Thus, these hydrogen bonds will give the stability to the polynucleotide chain or DNA, as well as sugar and phosphate groups. Sugar and phosphate groups act as backbone to the DNA. In the chain of sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate, sugar, phosphate. Thus the chain of sugar and phosphate will act as backbone to the DNA. And these nitrogen base pairs are projected inside of the DNA. That is called complementarity. Next, let us know about Chargaff's rule. What is the Chargaff's rule? What is the Chargaff's rule? The Chargaff's rule means in a DNA, number of purines are equal to number of pyrimidines. Number of purines is equal to number of pyrimidines. Therefore, the ratio between purines and pyrimidines in a given DNA always 1 and constant. it is one of the Chargaff's rule. So the Chargaff's, according to the Chargaff's rule, the number of purines is equal to number of pyrimidines. So the ratio between purines and pyrimidines always one and constant. That is one Chargaff's rule. And another Chargaff's rule is number of adenines are equal to number of thymines in a given DNA. The number of adenines are equal to number of thymines in a given DNA. Either it is present in left hand and also present in right-handed chain, wherever it is present. But the ratio between adenine and thymine is always one and constant. Similarly, there is another Chargaff's rule. The number of guanosine is also equal to number of cytosine in a DNA. That is one and constant. This is Chargaff's rule. So according to the Chargaff's rule, number of purines are equal to number of pyrimidines. So the ratio between them is one and constant, as well as number of adenine in a given DNA is equal to thymine. So the ratio between them is also one and constant. Similarly, the ratio between guanine and cytosine. So number of guanines is equal to number of cytosine. Therefore, the ratio between them is also one and constant. Suppose we can calculate these nitrogen bases. How many adenines are there? How many thymines are there? And how many purines are there? How many pyrimidines are there? Let us count them. So, first of all, count the adenine. Count the purines. What are the purines present in DNA? Adenine and guanine. Let us count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 purines are there. How many purines are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 purines are there. And how many pyrimidines are there? What are the pyrimidines? Which are present in DNA? Only thymine and cytosine. So how many pyrimidines are there? T and C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So according to the Chargaff's rule, number of purines is always equal to number of pyrimidines, and the ratio between is one and constant. Now let us know about the ratio of adenine and thymine. How many adenines are there in a given DNA? 1, 2, 3. 3 adenines are there. And how many thymine are there? 1, 2, 3. So thymines also equal to adenine. So the ratio between them is also 1 and constant. Now let us count the guanine and cytosine. So according to the Chargaff's rule, guanine is also equal to cytosine. How many guanines are there? 1, 2, 3. Only 3 guanines are present. Now let us count cytosine. 1, 2, 3. So cytosine is also 3. Thus the ratio between them is also 1 and constant. So once again, let us repeat the Chargaff's rule. According to the Chargaff's rule, number of purines is always equal to number of pyrimidines. Therefore, the ratio will be also 1 and constant always. And number of adenines are equal to number of thymines. So the ratio will be also 1 and constant. And the number of guanine is also equal to number of cytosine in a given DNA. So the ratio between them is also 1 and constant. This is the Chargaff's rule. let us know another ratio. That is called base ratio. What is base ratio? Base ratio means number of pairs, number of A and T pairs divided by number of G and C pairs. That is called base ratio. So how the base pairs are formed? The base pairs are formed between A and T through two hydrogen bonds, as well as the base pair is formed between G and C through three hydrogen bonds. That is called base ratio. What is the value of base ratio? And first of all, let us count the A and T and G and C. How many A and T pairs are there? 1, 2, 3. Only 3 A and T pairs are there. Once again, let us count. 1, 2, 3. And what is the number of G and C pairs? 1, 2, 3. So the ratios of A and T, the number of A and T are 3, number of G and C are also 3. But it is not equal. Whereas in base ratio, it is not equal and it is not constant. And what is the value of base ratio? The base ratio in prokaryotes is, see, the base ratio never equal and never constant. Depend upon the organism, the base ratio will be changed. Why? Because sometimes number of A and T are more than the number of G and C. Sometimes number of G and C pairs are more than the number of A and T. Unlike the ratio of purines and pyrimidines, the base ratio is not equal as well as not constant. That is, you have to remind. So, what is the base ratio? What is the value of base ratio in prokaryotes? The base ratio in prokaryotes is always less than 1. Okay, why? Because number of adenine and thymine pairs are less than the number of guanine and cytosine. That's why the base ratio is always less than 1 in the prokaryotes. That's why the melting point of DNA is also high in prokaryotes.
సార్ ఒక్క నిమిషం పాస్ చేద్దాం.
So, what is the value of prokaryotes? What is the value of base ratio in prokaryotes? The value of base ratio in prokaryotes is always less than 1. Why? Because number of A and T pairs are less than the number of G and C. That's why the melting point of DNA is also high in DNA, high in prokaryotes. Why? Because number of hydrogen bonds are more in prokaryotes. Number of hydrogen bonds are more. Why? Because how many hydrogen bonds took place in G and C? 3 hydrogen bonds. That's why number of G and C pairs are more than the number of A and T. That's why more number of hydrogen bonds also present. Therefore, the melting point is also high in prokaryotes. Then what is the value of base ratio in eukaryotes? The base ratio of eukaryotes is always greater than 1. Why? Because number of A and T pairs are more, number of G and C pairs are less. Okay, number of A and T pairs are more than the number of G and C pairs. That's why the ratio between them always greater than 1, and also melting point is also very low. Why? Because number of hydrogen bonds are less when compared with the prokaryotes. That's why the melting point is also low in the eukaryotes. This is called base ratio. So what is the base ratio? The ratio between A and T pairs and G and C pairs is called as base ratio. In prokaryotes, the base ratio is always less than 1, whereas in eukaryotes the base ratio is always greater than 1. That is called base ratio. And the base ratio never equal and never constant. Depend upon the organism, the value of base ratio will be changed. So this is Chargaff's rule. So what is the Chargaff's rule? The number of purines and pyrimidines, the ratio of purines and pyrimidines is always 1 and constant, and the ratio of A and T in a given DNA is always 1 and constant, and the ratio between G and C is always 1 and constant, and the base ratio, what is the base ratio? Number of A and T pairs divided by number of G and C pairs is called as base ratio. So this is the Chargaff's rule. And one more thing you have to remind, it is valid for, the Chargaff's rule is valid for only dsDNA. The Chargaff's rule is valid for only double stranded DNA. It is not valid for RNA as well as not valid for single stranded DNA. It is valid for only double stranded DNA. This is Chargaff's rule. Next, anti-parallel orientation. What is anti-parallel orientation? Anti-parallel orientation means two strands in a DNA runs in opposite directions. That is called anti-parallel orientation. Suppose in DNA one strand has 5 prime and 3 prime. Another strand has 5 prime and 3 prime and. One strand runs towards 3 prime end in downwards. Another strand runs towards 3 prime in upwards. That is called anti-parallel orientation. Means two strands in a DNA run in opposite direction. Two strands in a DNA or run in opposite direction. One strand runs towards third end, towards downwards. Another strand runs towards third end in upward direction. Even both of them run towards 3 prime end, but the direction is different. So one is runs towards downwards, another one is runs towards upwards. In another way, we can say like one strand runs towards right side, one strand runs towards left side. This is called anti-parallel orientation. Anti-parallel orientation means two strands in a DNA runs in opposite direction. One strand runs towards downwards and one strand runs towards upwards. This is called anti-parallel orientation. In another way, we can say like one strand runs towards right side and one strand runs towards left side. Even they runs in opposite direction, but the polymerization always occur from 5 prime to 3 prime. In both the strands, the polymerization will be occur always from 5 prime to 3 prime. In both the strands, the polymerization always occur from 5 prime end to 3 prime end, but the orientation is different. One is runs towards downwards, another one is runs towards upwards. This is called anti-parallel orientation. Now let us know right-handed helix structure. What is right-handed helix structure? As we mentioned, the DNA is made up of two strands. The DNA is made up of two polynucleotide chains, and these polynucleotide chains are twisted around itself in right-handed fashion to form a helix-like structure. That is called helical structure. So, what is helix structure? Two polynucleotide chains in a strand runs parallel to each other in right-handed fashion to form spiral-like structure, to form helical-like structure, and which is formed a three-dimensional structure is called helix structure. Let us draw the helix structure.
సార్ ఛార్జింగ్ ఇంకొక 14 పాయింట్సే ఉంది. ఒక 10 మినిట్స్ చెప్తే అయిపోతుంది. 10 మినిట్స్లో.
So, two polynucleotide chains are runs parallel to each other.
కొంచెం బాగుంది అయ్యారు.
Two strands are runs parallel to each other. And they will be coiled or they will be twisted in right-handed fashion to form a helix-like structure which is called as right-handed helix. Right-handed helix means two polynucleotide chains in a DNA are run parallel to each other and they will be twisted one and each other to form helical-like structure or spiral-like structure which is called as right-handed helix structure. This is right-handed helix structure. As a result of right-handed helix structure, there are two types of grooves are formed. Due to the formation of right-handed helix structure, there are two types of grooves are formed. One is deep groove, one is shallow groove. The deep groove is known as deep groove which is wide is called as major groove. The another group which is shallow and narrow is called minor groove. as a result of right-handed helix structure, there are two types of grooves are formed in helical structure. That is called, one is major groove, which is deep in structure as well as wide in structure, and another groove which is shallow and narrow is called minor groove. This is shallow and narrow. This is deep and wide. Deep wide groove is known as major groove. Shallow narrow groove is called as minor groove. The distance between two successive minor grooves, this is the distance between two successive minor grooves is called as pitch. So what is the pitch? The distance between two successive minor grooves. The distance between two successive minor grooves, or the distance between two successive major grooves is also called as pitch. So what is the pitch? The distance between two minor grooves. So this is one minor groove, this is one minor groove. So the distance between these two grooves is called as also pitch, and the distance between two successive major grooves is also called as pitch. Minor groove, it is shallow narrow groove. Major groove, it is deep wide groove. So what is the pitch? The distance between two successive minor grooves, or the distance between two successive major grooves is called pitch. The length of the pitch is, listen carefully, the length of the pitch is approximately 34 angstrom units or 3.4 nanometers. Each pitch has 10 base plates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is half of the one pitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is another half of the pitch. Thus, the pitch has 10 base plates, and it is also called as one full turn. The pitch is also called as one full turn. Therefore, one full turn or one pitch has 10 base plates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, this full turn is called as one pitch. One full turn is called as one pitch. So, the length of the pitch is 34 angstrom units or 3.4 nanometers. How many base plates are present in one pitch? One pitch has 10 base plates or 20 bases. One pitch has 10 base plates, or one full turn has 10 base plates or 20 bases. The length of the one pitch or the length of the one full turn is, this is one full turn, this is one full turn. Half curve and second half curve together to form as one full turn, which is also called as one pitch. The length of the one pitch is 34 angstrom units, or in terms of nanometers, 3.4 nanometers. How many base pairs are present in one full turn or one pitch? There are 10 base pairs are present or 20 bases are present. Then what is the distance between two successive base pairs. Let us calculate the distance between two successive base pairs. Actually, length of the pitch is 34 angstrom units. There are 10 base pairs are present in each pitch. Then calculate 34 by 10. That is 3.4 angstrom units. This is the distance between two successive base pairs. The length of the pitch is 34 angstrom units or 3.4 nanometers in terms. Whereas the distance between two successive base pairs is 3.4 angstroms or 0.34 nanometers. So these are the measurement of one pitch. The length of the one pitch is always 34 angstrom units or in terms of nanometers 3.4 nanometers, and one pitch has 10 base pairs or 20 bases. The distance between two successive base pairs is 3.4 angstrom units or 0.34 nanometers. The angle between two successive base pairs. The angle between two successive base pairs is 36 degrees. Angle between two base pairs is 36 degrees. Therefore, angle of one pitch or one full turn, obviously 36 into 10, that is 360 degrees. The angle between two base pairs is 36 degrees. Then what is the angle of pitch or one full turn? Obviously, there are how many base pairs are present in one full turn? 10 base pairs. What is the angle of one base pair? 36. Obviously, 36 into 10, that is 360 degrees. It is the angle of one full turn or one pitch. And the distance between two polynucleotide chains in a DNA is 20 angstrom units. The distance between two strands at any place from top to bottom, okay, at any place from top to bottom, the distance between two strands is always approximately 20 angstrom units. From any point of the DNA, the distance between two polynucleotide chains, the distance between two polynucleotide chains is always 20 angstrom units at any point of double-stranded DNA. This is right-handed helix structure. Now let us do some problems on double-stranded DNA, which is proposed by Watson and Crick and according to the Chargaff's rule. As point of need, the problems are very important on double-stranded DNA according to Watson-Crick model as well as according to Chargaff's rule. Let us do some problems on double-stranded DNA. If your DNA has 15% of adenine, find out the G. If your DNA has 15% adenine and find out the G. Before going to solve the problems, once again we have to remind the Chargaff's rule. that is according to the Chargaff rule, A and D, A and T by G and C is always 1, and A by T is also always 1, and G by C is also always 1, and purines and pyrimidines. The ratio of purines and pyrimidines is also 1. Sorry, this is base ratio. Ratio between A and T is always 1. Ratio between G and C is always 1. The ratio between purines and pyrimidines is also 1. And another Chargaff rule is total percentage of total base pairs in a DNA is considered as 100%. That is another rule of Chargaff. Total percentage of adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine in given DNA is considered as 100%. And how many hydrogen bonds are present between A and T? 2 hydrogen bonds. And how many hydrogen bonds are present between G and C? 3 hydrogen bonds. So these are the measurements we have to know before going to solve the problems. Let us solve this problem. If a DNA has 15% adenine, then find out the G. According to Chargaff's rule, A is always equal to T. A is always equal to T, and G is also always equal to C. So as mentioned here, the percentage of A equal to 15% as given. Obviously the percentage of T will be also 15%. Then remaining percentage is belongs to G and C. According to the Chargaff rule, the total percentage of total base pairs in a given DNA is considered as 100%. If the percentage of A and T, the total percentage of A and T equal to 30%, rest of the percentage is belongs to G and C. Then subtract the 30 from the 100. That is equal 70, which is belongs to G and C by half of. We should share the 70% to guanine and cytosine. So the amount of guanine is 35%. Obviously, the amount of cytosine is also 35%. So the answer is 35%. So according to the Chargaff's rule, A is always equal to T, G is always equal to C. The total percentage of total base pairs in a given DNA is considered as 100% according to the Chargaff's rule. So here mentioned as A is 15%. Obviously T is also 15%. Rest of the percentage is belongs to G and C by half of. So subtract the 30 from the 100, that is equal to 70, and by 2, that is equal to 35, and which is belongs to guanine and cytosine equally. So the answer is 35%. Another problem. In a given DNA, there are 500 base pairs are present. Adenine equal to 25%. Find the length of the DNA. Find rest of the nitrogen bases. And calculate the number of hydrogen bonds. So in a given DNA, there are 500 base pairs are present. A equal to 25%. Find out the rest of the nitrogen bases, that is T, G, C, and calculate the total number of hydrogen bonds in a given DNA. So what is the percentage of A? 25%. Obviously T will be also 25% according to the Chargaff's rule. Okay, rest of the percentages belongs to G and C in equal proportion. Now let us find out the length of the DNA first. How many base pairs are present? 500 base pairs are present. Means how many total bases? 100 bases. According to Watson-Crick model, if there are 500 base pairs are there, the total number of bases are, it has to multiply with 2. So the total bases are 1000 bases are present in given DNA. Now what is the percentage of A? 25%. Let us find out the length of the DNA. 10 base pairs length of the pitch is equal to 34 angstrom units according to Watson-Crick model DNA. 10 base pairs length of the pitch or 10 base pairs full turn of the pitch is 34 angstrom units as we mentioned earlier. So how many base pairs are present here? 500 base pairs. So by 10, that is equal to 50. So there are 50 full turns are present. Okay, there are 50 full turns are present. The length of the full turn is 34 angstrom units. Obviously 50 into 34, that is equal to 1700 angstrom units. The length of the 500 base pairs DNA is 1700 angstrom units. As we mentioned earlier, 10 base pairs length is 34 angstrom units. Then how many 10 base pairs are there in given DNA? That is 500 by 10. That is called 50 pitches are there or 50 full turns are there. Length of the one full turn is 34 angstrom units. Therefore 50 into 34, that is equal 1700 angstrom units. This is the length of the DNA. Now find out the T, G, C. According to the Chargaff's rule, A equal to 25%. Obviously T is equal to 25%. Rest of the percentage is belongs to G and C in equal proportional. So rest of the percentage is 50. So obviously G will be also 25%. C will be also 25%.
1 hour అయింది సార్.
How
ప్రాబ్లం
many
చెప్పండి.
total nitrogen bases are present in given DNA? So there are 1000 bases are present in given DNA. So we should share them in equal proportional. So 25% in 1000. 25% in 1000, that is equal 250. Here also 250. Here also 250. Here also 250. So the number of thymine is 250. Number of guanine is 250. Number of cytosine is 250. Let us calculate the hydrogen bonds. How many hydrogen bonds are exist between A and T? 2 hydrogen bonds. So how many A and T pairs are there? 250. So 250 into 2, that is equal 500 hydrogen bonds between A and T. And how many G and C pairs are there? 250. So, how many hydrogen bonds are present between G and C? 3 hydrogen bonds. So, 250 into 3, that is equal to 750. So, total hydrogen bonds are 1250 hydrogen bonds are present in given DNA.
థ్యాంక్స్
Okay, thank you. ఇంకా కొంచెం ఉంది
అంటే 1 అవర్ అయిపోయింది కదా సార్
అయిపోయిందా?
అంటే నా ఛార్జింగ్ అయిపోయింది అనుకో అసలు మొత్తం క్యాన్సిల్ అయితే నాకు భయం.
మళ్ళీ